45th verse. I am delighted, having seen what was never seen before, yet my mind is distressed with fear. We said you don't need to fear the higher. You don't need to fear the reality. You don't need to fear your conscience. You don't need to fear the path of reality. Who fears the path of reality? Who fears God? Who fears the conscience? Those who are not doing the right path, those who are not following the right path, those who are not doing the right action. In the context, Arjuna is experiencing, he is distressed with fear. The fear Arjuna is experiencing because he has overstepped his capacity. He is not comfortable in the journey or the place he is in, the position he is in. So the fear, as you spiritually advance, as we learned, that the emotion fear doesn't exist in your life, or the fear or insecurity doesn't exist. So as you spiritually advance, you experience abhaya, a sign where you feel very secure, you become fearless, you feel there is a great amount of conviction in your journey, and that inner feeling of security. In fact, the truth is that inner feeling of insecurity cannot be offset by the material world. Anything external cannot offset the internal insecurity. Uneasy lies the head that wears the crown, said Shakespeare. So it is not the crown that's going to give you security. It's not the material world that's going to give you security. It's not anything external cannot lend an internal charm. Though we have many net to protect ourselves from any not mosquito net. You have to protect yourself of any eventuality. You say, this protects me, that protects, this insurance, this safe, that investment, that property, whatever you keep all the various fishing nets to protect yourself. You may have all that. As long as you're not being truthful to it, even the acquisition of wealth, we say, when the wealth is acquired through rajasic and tamasic means, you feel very insecure. But the wealth, if you acquired through sattvic means, there is no insecurity with the sattvic wealth, and there's no proportion to it. You can live a life of a Raja. You can live a royal life. Vedanta doesn't mean you must be hands to mouth, doesn't mean you must be a pauper, doesn't mean you must live with bare minimum. I must wear torn clothes. I must wear slippers with holes. I must sleep on a floor on the mat. Not necessarily. I can live a royal life. There's no taboo to material possession. But the moment the material possession or materiality is giving insecurity, the reason the material acquisitions give insecurity because the means with which you acquired that material wealth is to be questioned. When you have acquired them in a rajasic and tamasic way, what's rajasic way? Selfishly. Tamasic is, I don't care for others' well-being. I only am interested in my own advancement, even if it means at the cost of others. A rajasic fellow, he is running behind his greed for proprietorship. A tamasic fellow will stoop to any means to get that. So there's a slight difference in rajasic pursuit of wealth and tamasic pursuit of wealth. Tamasic fellow will do anything to get it. Rajasic fellow is greedy running. He wants more and more and more. There's no end to it. There's a difference in that. But as long as the insecurity is there, it is because, not because of the external world, it's because of your own internal cause. So internal cause and internal effect has no reference to external possession or dispossession. So never, no amount of object can.
Objects your subject itself.
Sorry?
It objects the path.
No, that's what we said.
Itself.
If
Any objects.
I am objecting to what you're saying now. Because an object objects to your path, therefore it's an objector. Sorry, we will have to take an independent research to that. We'll come back to you. We will do study and research and come back. Right, we will get on with the text, verse 46, please. Kiritinam gadinam chakrahastam ichhami tvam drashtumaham tathaiva tenaiva rupena chaturbhujena sahasrabaho bhava vishwamurte. Kiritinam gadinam chakrahastam ichhami tvam drashtumaham tathaiva tenaiva rupena chaturbhujena sahasrabaho bhava vishwamurte. Now, verses 46 to 51 is the penultimate topic of the text. In this set of verses, Arjuna is appeased on seeing the Lord's gentle human form. The previous topic, he was terrified seeing the Vishwarupa. So he's asked the Lord, can you please show your gentle form? So here in the verse, he says, I desire to see you as before. Even there he is confused, confounded. Crowned, bearing a mace with discus in hand, in that same four-armed form. I wonder, when did Arjuna see Lord Krishna with four arms? Huh? Correct, huh? Illogical statement, isn't it? All his life he knew Arjuna, knew Krishna as a normal human being with two arms. Even when he says, show me your normal human form, he says human being with four arms. What is he talking? A sign of total hallucination. Still he has not recovered from his, he has not come out of it. Moha, he is in a delusive state. In that monitor, can you push it a little behind? For a few inches. Away from me, away from me. Ayyo, monitor poyirthe. And the plug lose aayaduthe. Paravalle. No, but nothing is coming. You need to plug it in again.
Okay,
This is okay. Perfect. Can your angle be a little more this side? That's OCD. I can't concentrate if the monitor is not straight. That is OCD. So, I desire to see you as before, crowned, bearing a mace with discus in hand, in that same four-armed form, O thousand-armed, O universal form. So he's addressing the Vishwarupa. You had shown your Vishwarupa in 1,000 arms. Please show me a gentle human form with four arms. Obviously, where we have concluded or we established that this is a sign where when you overstep your capacity, you become very uncomfortable. So you should never overstep, never go beyond your capacity. Now the four-armed Lord Krishna, Lord Vishnu, one and the same. In four-arm, they hold, or Lord Vishnu holds, Shankha, Chakra, Gada, Padma. As we are well versed, but just a mention because the text talks of it. The Padma is the seat of wisdom. The Padma, which is the seat of wisdom, is the goal of human existence. So our primary purpose in life is to attain that seat of wisdom. And when that seat of wisdom is magnified to the highest, it becomes the goal of self-actualization, self-realization, self-attainment. That is symbolized by the Padma. So that goal is there lingering in every human mind. The goal is lingering in every human mind because it is the very purpose of every human birth. You and I may not realize that the fact that you're born only with one purpose, is to realize yourself. Your only dharma is to know yourself. Your only obligation is to get back to yourself. But instead of pursuing that, we have got on to every other obligation. We have picked up every other interest except pursuing the primary interest with which we have come here. Full potential is to get back to the self. It's not to make as much money as possible. It's not to amass the world. It's not run behind the world. It's only to get back to yourself. That is symbolized by the lotus leaf Padma. And then there is that conch which constantly reminds you of that lotus leaf, lotus flower. The conch is the conscience. So the Padma is the wisdom, the conch is the sound, the conscience within that constantly tells you when you go against the path of wisdom. When you don't follow that path of wisdom, the conscience pricks you. That's when the conscience pricks you, and the conscience brings about a sense of discomfort when your actions are not aligned towards that Padma. There is that sense of guilt or committing a sin. That is in fact the definition of sin. Yeah. What is sin? Sin is when your actions are not aligned to that goal of the Padma. So it's all inbuilt. You don't have to pick up a goal. You don't have to be told by somebody that you're not following. The goal is inbuilt because you're born with that purpose. There is an inbuilt system of Allah creating an alarm to tell you when you don't follow that goal. So when you don't follow, the alarm comes from within. The conscience pricks you. Hey, what you're doing is not right. Get back to that. And when you don't follow it, comes the gada. The maze, the gada or the maze are the innumerable agitations, the frustrations, the knocks and shocks of life that we go through, the pain, the price we pay for not going inward. The moment you go out into the world, not hearing the conscience, you will pay the price of mental agitations. And the mental agitations come not because of the world. The mental agitations come because you're not going inward, you're going outward. Thumb rule. Nothing internal can cause you agitation. So nothing external can cause. It's your own internal journey. If you don't go inward, you will find the agitation. And if you still don't heed to the gada, comes the chakra. Chakra is where your own actions will annihilate you. Your own actions will destroy you. I come to a point where it's a path of no return. So when Lord Vishnu holds these four objects, as it were, in his forearms, one is the goal, second is the path to the goal, the third is a warning of not following the goal, the fourth is the serious consequence of not heeding the warning. You continue to disregard that inner conscience, you pay the price. The biggest price you pay is your own destruction. Tell you, so beautiful. Whenever you look at those four, the mere mention of it should bring you back on track. So here Arjuna is requesting the Lord to show his four-armed form. Let's see. Shri Bhagavanuvacha Maya prasannena tavarjunedam Rupam param darshitam atma yogat Tejomayam vishwamanantamadhyam Yanme tvadanyena na drashtapurvam Shri Bhagavanuvacha Maya prasannena tavarjunedam Rupam param darshitam atma yogat Tejomayam vishwamanantamadhyam Yanme tvadanyena na drashtapurvam. Shri Bhagavanuvacha, the blessed Lord said, by my grace, O Arjuna, this form of mine has been shown to you by my own yoga. Atma Yoga. By my own yoga, this form refers to the Vishwarupa, that form which is supreme, resplendent, primeval, infinite, universal form of mine, which has not been seen before by anybody else than you. Swadanyena drashtupurvam. Na drashtu. Nobody has seen before. If the Lord himself declares that nobody has seen, obviously that means there has been no form, no? Isn't it, Pritima? Can we not conclude that way? If nobody has seen it, then it means there has never been a form for it to be seen. Because there are so many great men, so many people have attained realization, have attained the highest. It's not that Lord Krishna is the first Mahatma. There are many Mahatmas, many yugas, many great souls have come and gone. Endaro Mahanubhavulu, Andariki na Vandanamulu. So many great souls, so many realized souls are there. If nobody of them, none of them have experienced that form, that means there is no form at all. Now, if you decode the words, it will justify what it means. The form which was shown to you by my yoga is infinite. I am only decoding the words which the Lord says. Anantam. When you say infinite, what does infinite mean? Endless? On the contrary, when you say finite, means there is a boundary, right? And infinite means there is no boundary. When something has no boundary, means it is formless. Something which is formless means it's not a form. Since it's not a form, it has not been seen. You have to decipher. But those who believe that there is that form of Vishwarupa, we are not denying their emotional belief, their devotional approach. We are not here to contradict anybody. But we are trying, when you take an intellectual angle, when you try to decode the words, it has a hidden meaning where you are able to see beyond that what is seemingly said, but what is implied is far greater. So when he says infinite universal form, So all the adjectives in the verse indicates the infinite expansive nature of the Vishwarupa, which is suggesting is not a form at all. Not here. Throughout the verse, when we kept interpreting, did we not gather that he is referring to the formless reality? So what we are saying is anything infinite is all pervading. Anything all pervading cannot have a boundary. Anything doesn't have a boundary has to be formless. Anything is formless is no form. Then what Arjuna saw because of yogic power of the Lord, which was lent to him, was only a mere visualization, not an actual perception. I gave you the ability to visualize certain things. Like, I'm not trying to bring down when I take this example, but when a magician takes the stage and he calls a few from the audience and what does he do? He hypnotizes the volunteers and he conditions him and he influences their mind. And thereafter, whatever is experienced by those on stage is only seen by them on stage, not the audience. Because this man who's hypnotized them has lent his power to them to visualize certain things. If it is a reality, everybody in that auditorium should see that, which is not true. A simple example could be, I call few people on stage and I hypnotize them that they are sitting at a beautiful lakefront with a picnic plan with the family, and they are all with the fishing rods catching fish in that freshwater body. And all 5 of them with fishing rods, and each of them collecting fish. All this drama is going on in the air-conditioned hall in front of 1,000 people sitting. Is that a reality or is it visualization, Pridima? Visualization. But for them, it's a reality, right? It is not, they would never question that experience. They would think it's a reality. But for you and me, we know it is not a reality. It is just a conditioning where you are subjected to that experience because of the power of the hypnotizer. If an ordinary hypnotizer can do that, what can the Lord not achieve? So the great Lord, through his yogic power, gave the ability to see the cosmic world in the cosmic form. He saw everything in the one form and he gave him that power. But you and me should understand it is a mere visualization, not a perception. And we gather that from the very words of the Lord. It is not to misinterpret. As I was saying earlier, you need to take great care when you're trying to draw the meaning contained in these verses. It is not to mislead the audience, but try to help the audience understand, help the seeker understand the bigger picture. I can just put a picture of the Lord in the cosmic form and move on and say, this is the Lord. But I would not take you further beyond that form that you see. Is that all that the text is saying? The text is saying far greater than what is merely perceived to be. So it needs to be carefully examined, carefully scrutinized, every word decoded. And when you do that, there is a deeper meaning. But if some of you feel that you are going beyond your capacity, don't. Hold on. If it is stretching your limit to beyond a point where you can't expand, don't unsettle yourself. Take a note of it. At some point, you will appreciate what is being said here. But there's no need to reject it. All I'm saying is, if you can't appreciate now, no need to reject it. You may appreciate it later stage. As a student, we have realized that so many concepts that When I remember when I first heard the concept of illusion, Maya, I didn't understand. I don't know whether how many of you will understand when I were to talk of the concept of Maya, which I don't really talk that often. The concept of Maya, there's only one man who spoke about the concept of Maya in that detail is Swami Ramatirtha. Swami Ramatirtha brings out the concept of illusion. He brings the concept of intrinsic illusion and extrinsic illusion. No other guru, no other scripture comes to that detail. It's not explained. There's only one man who explains how we all are caught up in the illusion, which is intrinsic and extrinsic. I tell you, the first few years I was struggling. What is this intrinsic? What is extrinsic? Where does intrinsic end? Where does extrinsic begin? Oh, sorry, where extrinsic ends and where intrinsic begins? Lost. And when it was bothering to a large extent, it was unsettling. Then the advice I was given is, it'll all settle in, don't worry. It'll all make sense to you one day. So when it doesn't make sense to you, you should not reject it. Hold on, give it in the space, keep it aside, hold on to your knowledge or the understanding you have. But when I stretch it beyond a point, you're not able to take it. Just because you're not able to take it, don't reject it. Still have the faith that there is some truth in the teachings. Approach that way, it will help you. Okay? M.V. Rao garu.
Lord does show Viswarupam to Dhritarashtra when he comes for negotiation.
Sorry, sir, can you come again, please?
Lord shows his Viswarupam to Dhritarashtra when he goes for negotiations.
Lord shows the form through Dhritarashtra.
Yeah, because Duryodhana tries to tie him down, so he shows the Viswarupam. So nobody can see other than Dhritarashtra because he has given the divine vision to Dhritarashtra.
So Dhritarashtra is a blind.
No, he has been bestowed with a vision to see the Viswarupam.
I don't know if I'm getting you rightly. What are you saying, sir?
No, here Lord says that this has not been shown to anybody else so far other than you.
Wait, sir. One auto fellow is running his auto there. That auto is disturbing me. I am trying to see Brahman in the auto also. So please allow me to do some sadhana. Some disturbing noise comes also, I must say, I see the Brahman. If my wife is shouting at me also, I must say Brahman. I'm not able to see that. One day I'll get there, Reddy Garu. Yeah. I lose my sadhana when she's shouting at me. She knows that very well. But someday I'll start with auto follow and come to my wife. Not that they were the same. Pritima, don't get me wrongly. Vijaya, please forgive me. I must shout at. That is my private matter. I don't talk about it publicly. Emira Chapandi, what are you saying, sir?
No, here the Lord says that this Viswarupam has not been seen by anybody else other than you.
So he's lying, huh?
No, I'm not saying that thing. I'm not able to understand what he means by that because he did show the Viswarupam to Dhritarashtra when he tries to tie him down.
That section I'm losing you. 1 minute, sir.
When Krishna went for mediation, he showed his Vishwarupa to Dhritarashtra. How does he say in the verse that nobody has seen it other than you?
That I suppose you can directly clarify with Vyasa. I am qualified to answer that question. It is beyond my capacity, sir. Right question, answer, I don't have the capacity to answer.
For people with eyes, it is visualization. For Dhritarashtra, it is imagination. Out of portion questions.
So out of portion question, I am not prepared for that. Yo.
Then somebody say, everyone can say, right?
Emira Garu, you must come to the class here. You have created a movement here. Oh, you're there very much. Okay, right. Okay. So as I've said, it's only a visualization. It's not an actual perception. Hmm? It's going to be clarified further. Let's see. 48, please. न वेदयज्ञाध्ययनैर्न दानैः न च क्रियाभिर्न तपोभिरुद्रैः एवं रूप शक्य अहं नृलोके द्रष्टुं त्वदन्येन कुरु प्रवीर न वेदयज्ञाध्ययनैर्न दानैः न च क्रियाभिर्न तपोभिरुद्रैः एवं रूप शक्य अहं नृलोके द्रष्टुं त्वदन्येन कुरु प्रवीर न वेद्याध्ययनैः, neither by the study of the Vedas, nor by yajna, which is sacrifices, nor by danaihi, by gifts, nor by kriyabhi, by rituals, nor by na tapobhi, nor by severe austerities, agrai tabobhi. Agrai means, so ugrai means severe. Nor by severe austerities can I be seen in such a form in the world of men by anyone other than you, O great hero of the Kurus, O Kurunandana. Neither by the study of the Vedas. Let's pack our bags and go. We are wasting our time here. We are constantly trying to study the Vedas in this classroom. So those of you who have come here, sorry to have taken the physical trouble. From here on, I am announcing, I'm winding up. All the work of Wisdom Foundation and all the study is wrapped up. Pack up bags and we'll go home. All those online, log out. Because here the Lord himself says, you will not be able to Harish from Hong Kong. Bye-bye, never to see you again. Everybody who are Ashama, bye-bye. Maniji, bye-bye. UK, Ushama, bye-bye. We will not see again anymore because he says you can't attain that self through the study of the Vedas. And all what we're trying to do is study the Vedas, twisting and torturing the textbook to understand what the Vedas are saying. Through the path of Jnanam, you can't see the form. So the first statement refers to Jnana Yoga. The Yajna and the Danam refers to Bhakti Yoga. Yajna is a spirit of service. Gifts refers to charitable acts. So you can't see the form through Bhakti Yoga. Reference of rituals, Kriyabhi, refers to Karma Yoga when you perform your obligatory duties. So what he's saying in one nutshell, through karma, bhakti and jnanam, you can't see my form. Oh, thank you. Through austerity also you can't see. Through tapas, those who people do severe tapas. Tapas is the sap of a spiritual man. What we do is tapas. We are living a life of tapas. What is tapas? I see Lakshmi Ma coming for the first time. Namaskaram. I usually trouble my students in the class. So by asking them questions, so don't be intimidated. Lakshmi Ma, do you know what does the word tapas mean?
I mean, with dedication, like to do, maybe to acquire something or else. Um, అంటే in olden days like ఋషులు అందరూ కూడా తపస్సు చేసేవాళ్ళు అని అంటారు. ఆ వర్డ్ అనేది చెప్పగలుగుతాను.
It's a very beautiful word. As you rightly said, to attain anything in life, you must do tapas. If a businessman is trying to expand his business, he'll sacrifice his personal time, he sacrifices his time with the family day in and day out. He logs in from morning to late in the evening to expand the business. He's doing some tapas, right? Even worldly success, you must do tapas. If you want to get the self, you want to attain spiritual salvation, you must do phenomenal tapas. So any success you want to achieve, you must do tapas. So there are two essential ingredients of tapas. I know you know. What happened to the board? What board? Vadva? Sleep mode. I'll wake him up. Huh? Tunga munji aayirtadu. This I could touch, Why you have to come from there to come and touch? Why is it going to sleep mode now? Right. The camera switch பண்ணுங்க. What is the definition of tapas? Tapas has two essential facets. One first aspect of tapas, Lakshmi Ma, you may want to write down this. The first aspect of tapas is to conserve your mental energies being dissipated through unproductive avenues or channels. The first aspect of tapas is to conserve your mental energy, which gets dissipated through many channels, many avenues, which is actually unproductive. So once you do that, what would happen, Pridhima? No, by doing this, what happens?
Yeah. What happens when you do this? Then if you're not dissipating your energy, you can focus it on what needs to be done.
Obviously, but what are you left with when you do this, when you practice the first part? You are left with a lot of energy, right?
Yeah.
You have a lot of resources of mental availability. So what this does, the first
The mental acuteness, mental sharpness and acuteness.
You can say mental your mind is available. Today your mind is not available. Why is it not available? Because preoccupied, opposite is preoccupation with the world. Your mind is just interested in every, sorry to use the word damn thing. Everything happening in the world interests you. So first step a tapasvi would do is he'll practice withdrawing his mind from all the unnecessary things in the world. So many things happening, let it happen here. What is a big deal? So you withdraw from the world, which gives you, which spares a lot of energy which is getting dissipated. So all this is the first part. Now, the second part of tapas, first we already said what it is. The second part of tapas is redirecting the mental energies to higher pursuit. So you rechannelize it. Having conserved it, what do you do? I use the time for swadhyaya. I do the time for my own self-improvement, for my own betterment. So tapas has got two essential aspects, which is conservation to save the energy and then redirection to the higher. So if a sadhak doesn't do tapas, he is not a sadhak at all. Now what's the point is, even if you do enormous tapas, is a severe tapas, not ordinary tapas. Ugrai tabobhihi, he says. Ugrai, severe penance you do. You will not be able to see such a form of mind in the world of men. Only you, Arjuna, saw. Those who did karma, bhakti, jnanam, even those who do tapas, cannot see a form of mind. All put together, you can't see, you can't help yourself to see the vision of the form. Vision of the Lord of the form of the Lord. So, in effect, I am actually questioning what am I doing here? Why are we saying this? If in fact, all spiritual sadhana can be capsuled as karma, bhakti, jnanam and tapas. If that itself can't help you to see the form, then what?
Lord is emphasizing the
I think in a way the Lord is emphasizing the futility of the form. And because it is infinite, and therefore, this man wanted to see, so I gave him the yogic power to see, but it is not required at all. Do follow your jnana yoga and bhakti yoga and karma yoga towards the higher pursuit. And once you do this, it will ultimately lead to unfoldment of the self that is within you.
Spot on. The fact that he says all that effort will not give you the form, it means God is not outside, God must be realized within. It is not in a form outside, it is something which has to be revealed within. One who sees it within will experience it outside. Come back to the subject, it is not the object. So God is not an object of perception. What is God? The indweller, it is that which enables you to perceive the object. It is not the object of perception. If you can contemplate on that statement rest of your life, I tell you, you had it. God is not an object of perception. It is that which enables you to perceive the object. That is what it is.
I think which is why
Consciousness is another term for God. But what is pure consciousness? It is that which is not an object of perception. You can't say I see God. You can't say I smelt God. You can't say I touch God. I can't. You can't hear God. You can't feel God. You can't conceive God. Finished. Why? Because God is not an object of perception. God is not an object of emotion. God is not an object of thought. Then what is God? God is that which enables you to perceive. God is that which enables you to feel. God is that which enables you to think. So instead of you placing it outside as an object, he's saying, go inward as a subject. And since it is not an object, any amount of tapas, any amount of sadhana you do, it cannot be perceived, man. Instead of saying directly, he's putting it indirectly for us to make us think. There's nothing wrong in the sadhana. It is, you're searching for it where it isn't. Therefore, indirectly he's saying, don't be illusioned by the fact that there is a form outside. There is no form, man. It's all within you.
I think which is why it is said that God is an experience and not an explanation, a presence and not a person, the center and not the circumference.
Correct. It is the center. How? See, center means it is the very core of your personality, which is inward.
It is an experience which cannot be explained. For example, sugar is sweet. I eat sugar. But can I explain what is sweet? Unless I eat and experience, I won't know what is sweet. Same way with God. You can experience, but you cannot explain. Word experience is being used to communicate. It is something, when something is totally beyond the senses and the mind, words fail. It is, God is actually the inexpressible. So whatever we are saying is like the finger pointing to the moon, but the finger is not the moon.
It's like saying any amount of explanation, you will not understand. That's what, in effect, that's what it means. Any amount of explanation, you will not understand. Because it's not something which can be understood. The
beauty is we need all this. See, the journey has to be traversed.
Absolutely.
And then you drop all the knowledge.
No, don't drop the knowledge. Drop the arrogance that you can. No, sir, we all need our intellects to go through this churning. After allowing the intellect to go through the churning, understand that intellect can't understand. Then why are you putting the intellect through the churning? To give the wisdom and the clarity. Because when the intellect is used in the backdrop of the knowledge, what you get is the wisdom for your life and living. That is that we want. Personified wisdom is salvation. Point one. Second point, why we need to go through this churning of manana and reflection is in the process of invoking wisdom, the ignorance gets burnt out. The ignorance gets consumed in the form of ego and egoistic desires. That goes away. So the impurities get cleansed off. So the whole process of churning and cleansing, the personality gets cleansed. So, yes, Pritima. There is no doubt in the practices.
Is it, what are you trying to say, that ultimately there is no journey, man or woman, you are already where you are supposed to be?
But do you know that?
No, I'm just saying.
The day you truly know it,
I know it, only my mind knows it, that's all. My mind knows it as a theoretical concept.
I'm not saying theoretical. I'm saying truly experiential. Do you truly know your fullness? Do you truly know your wholeness? Do you truly know who thou wholly are? Not in theory, in spirit. If you know in spirit, that day you become the self. So all this exercise is to make us realize what we truly are, which we already been. So in fact, the entire journey is not to gain something, is actually to lose what we assume what we are. We already are that. So why should I learn something? I can't gain something which I already am, no? I'm only trying to undo, I'm only trying to dehypnotize myself what you think you are, what I think I am. The day I have successfully dehypnotized myself, that day I realize myself. So it's not a question of gaining it, it's a question of losing it. The day I lose what I am, that day I gain what I am not. At the moment. At the moment, I don't know what I am. I think I am the finite individual. Let the individual drop. Truly, as I think it's Lord Tennyson, he says, truly it must drop. When you truly drop thinking of yourself, that day you have attained the self. Truly stop. Srinivas Reddy doesn't exist in whose life? In Srinivas Reddy's life. Shivaji should not exist in Shivaji's life. That day Shivaji becomes the true Shivaji. Now only false assumed Shivaji. All identities, the real self. So in a sense, what you're saying is right, is to, we can't gain something which we are. You know, there's a story that we learned in Vedantic studies. There was a kingdom and there was a young prince. Apparently the prince was lost in a huge deluge. The whole kingdom was flooded, and that the young boy was swept away. So there was a huge search to find the prince because the king was in a deathbed and they wanted to get back that young prince who will be heir to the throne. Days, weeks, months had passed, years had passed, they couldn't find that. So the loyal ministers, even after the demise of the king, they carried on the kingdom, they ran the kingdom in the name of the king, and there was a continuous search with the hope of finding the lost prince. But they all had one mark by which they could ascertain that he is the lost prince. They all knew that there was a big mole on the right shoulder of the young boy, young prince. That was the trademark. So wherever they went, whomever they suspected, they saw. Did he have a mark? If that mark they had, he is the king. He is the prince. Years rolled by, they couldn't find. Now, somewhere in another part, remote part of the kingdom, there was a young beggar. He used to meet his ends going door to door begging. He was a familiar face. People knew they used to give what they had, and he was happy. And he didn't mean any ill. He just lived his life. Suddenly, and because he was hardly dressed, barely he had something to cover. One day, a few soldiers came, picked him up from the street, took him to the palace. His mother, the princess, the queen. They brought that young man to that queen and said, we found him. It's for you to ascertain, is he your lost son to be the king? She closely examined the mole, and yes, she said, yes, he is my son and he will be crowned the king. Now this beggar didn't know what was happening. Suddenly picked up from the streets, taken to the kingdom. He is announced that he will be crowned the king the next few days. And then that night, he was sent to that presidential chambers, his private palace, his private chambers. It didn't dawn on him for long. A few days passed, it started sinking in. He went through the coronation ceremony. He was coronated. He was announced the king to the whole country. But it didn't sink in him yet. Inwardly, he was questioning what's going on. But at some point, soon thereafter, he accepted he is the king. But what he did was, he never threw away his beggar clothes. The day he came into that palace in the tattered beggar clothes, he had them with him. So one fine day, he just somehow left the palace unnoticed. He adorned those old beggar clothes, went back to the same part of that place where he used to make a livelihood, begging, and went back to the same people, begging for alms. A few people recognized his absence and said, "Hey, where were you?" And few people scoffed him off. Some people remembered him, some people took disgust to his revisitation. Some felt, thank God this fellow has gone. Some fellow said, "Hey, where were you?" He went back. Now, all the story is, the question is, the beggar, was he the prince when he was begging before? Was he the prince when he was begging first? Yes, he was a prince from birth. Nobody can deny that. He was a prince. The fact that he was born to the royal couple, he was the prince. But he was begging, and his life depended on what paltry that came his way, that made him give great joy. A little more came, gave it joy, and a little less gave him a lot of sadness. There were days he was starving, there was days he was in ecstasy. But he was a prince from day one. What is the difference between the beggar begging before and the beggar begging later? The only difference is the beggar did not know that he was the royal prince. The second situation, he knew he was the royal king, but he was begging. The whole Vedantic knowledge and wisdom and sadhana can be summed up to that realization. Am I the beggar or am I the king? You are the king from day one, just that you don't realize your true nature and you're begging at the doors of your body, mind and intellect, running out into the world, acquiring something for your inner pleasure, not realizing the kingdom of heaven is within you, said the great Christ. The whole knowledge is just to awaken you to that realization, what you truly are. So what is separating you and that realization is that en masse ignorance. And if that ignorance can be wiped out through karma, bhakti, jnanam and tapas, so be it. So all that we are trying to do is shift the stance of the beggar from to after, where he was the prince, but he did not know. What would have been his attitude to that reaction of how others treated him? It did not matter to him because he knew he was that royal prince. How does it matter what fell in his little bowl? So the masters are roaring to us, appealing to us. Why are you not realizing your true potential? Why are you thinking yourself this individual, running behind the world, making a fool of yourself? So we don't understand the spirit with which they are saying what they are saying. And we are foolishly paying the price of ignorance, not realizing our fullness within. So it's a beautiful story. I don't often talk of it, but whenever I talk, it means so much. So you're true, ma. We are the self, whether we know it or not, but the day we know it, that day the penny drops. As the English saying, the penny drops. That's the moment. And that moment is aneka janma it would take. It's not something that's possible in this janma. If it's possible, It's all because of your purva karma. But that moment to arrive, it's aneka janma effort. So it is trying to combat that avidya, that ignorance in us that is making us feel small and vulnerable. You are not that limited self. You are that absolute truth, the reality, the consciousness. Alas, we don't realize it. Even that human form, aneka janma. Certainly, but for that you must pursue it.
That is why I think it is said, no, Vayam Amritasya Putraha. We are all children of immortality.
But we must conduct ourselves also like the children of immortality, not just being born. It's just not the opportunity. We must encash the opportunity to do something about it.
Talking of opportunity, somebody said, I think in the context of what we are taking, all of us have an opportunity of a lifetime. And the opportunity of a lifetime must be grasped within the lifetime of the opportunity.
Which is right now. This moment. This moment you realize it. Not, if I were to say 12:37 IST on the 24th of March 2024, auspicious day. Only once in a lifetime we'll get 24th March 24. Correct? March will not come again. April might come. 24/03/24. This day, this moment, 12:38, 1 minute past. If you don't realize it, you will never realize it. Opportunity gone. So, the Lord is saying in the 48th verse, nobody in the world of men has seen it. No one has seen it. No one will ever see it. Because it is not a form to be seen. It is something which is to be experienced and unfolded within. Please realize that. But he is only, no, then you may ask me, sir, if that be true, then why is Lord Krishna saying all this? He will not speak false, right? Why is he saying it? He is trying to boost Arjuna. He is trying to bring Arjuna out of the state he is in. Get back to your path to do your dharma, man. You fellow, you are having a discussion or a dialogue out of context in the battlefield. Imagine we all are in a fight and suddenly two of us having conversation in between the fight. Two groups are fighting, ready to fight, blowing, trying to pulverize each other and blow up and blow a few punches here and there. And between, I'm saying, Shri Bhagavan Vacha, what is going on here? We are ready to fight with sticks and axes. We are sitting here to fight. And in that moment, Shri Bhagavan Vacha, Arjuna Vacha going on. It's out of context discussion. So he is trying his best to bring Arjuna out of his situation. Recognize where you are, do your dharma. So you should not see any such forms. If you see any such forms, don't tell outside, at least to us, because then we know something wrong with you. You can tell outside. To your shishyas, you can say, I am seeing forms and all. Yeah, gurus who go about saying, I saw the Lord in that form, I saw the Lord in this form, in this appearance, that appearance. People will fall for that. Only one doubt? For this whole year, only one doubt. Then
Subject.
this particular subject.
I can't.
Then you can't hear.
Obviously, we don't have any family to see people around the and how could Nagaraj just let me see Lord Rama? Who knows I could choose. Possibly, I just
he drew his inspiration from a form. Like you may draw inspiration from a a form. The great Tyagaraja did not create Rama, no? Rama existed before Tyagaraja, no? Did Tyagaraja create Rama? So the form inspired the great Tyagaraja. So he poured out his bhakti to that form and attained the highest. But he did not limit it to Rama, which you may be limiting it to your form. That's the difference between you and Tyagaraja. Just because the great Tyagaraja sang songs on Rama, he did not limit the God to that form alone. He could attune to that infinite reality through Rama. That's the difference between a realized soul and us. We are stuck to a form. They were not stuck to a form, but they express their love through a form. So if I have to express my love as a son to a mother, if I consider you motherly, and if I want to express my love to you, there is some means of my expression. No, I may write a message, I may give you a bouquet, or I may offer something to you out of my respect. But am I limiting my love and respect to you in that form of my gesture? Is my ability to give something to you, the quantification limit my love to you? How can I quantify my love to you? I'm only finding an expression to express my love to you. But don't quantify it with that expression, which is what you're trying to do. The biggest mistake you're trying to do is by limiting that expression of what the great Tyagaraja had for the universal form through Rama. You're limiting it to the form. He expressed it through form. He could relate it to the form. He didn't limit it to that form. So don't limit it. It is a means, but not the boundary. It's not the end. It's just the means of expression. Vehicle. Huh? Vehicle. Just the means, all. They grew beyond that form. They merged with that reality. So we are none to judge. So please don't judge. You must. Don't overstep your capacity. Don't overstep your capacity in trying to gauge spiritual masters or anybody beyond your capacity. Don't make that mistake. And don't do what they did. They did what was right for their sadhana. You do what is right for your sadhana. Double mistake. You should not do that. Because in that question, you're trying to question their life, whether he did right or wrong. Not in a negative tense, but you're trying to understand. But that means of questioning, understanding also is wrong. You should never get into a life of a guru. So you take the teachings and then you apply it, no problem. So ultimate message coming back to the verse, don't go outward search for God. Please take this message home. Don't go in outward search for God. God is right within you. कोई इंట్లో చెప్పండి కొద్దిగా కొద్ది గట్టిగా చెప్పండి కొద్దిగా చేసి పని చేయదట్టాలా రైట్ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ